How's it going, everyone? We are back here for another episode of Trench Talk after a week's hiatus. Some of us stayed in Iowa. Some of us went down to good old Missouri in the South. And I told Christian I had a good opener for this episode. We're going to keep it pretty casual for this one. We're a couple weeks away from the regular season. Christian, after this past week of spending it in the Ozarks celebrating my mom's 50th, I have realized that if I wasn't a lake person before, your thoughts?
You totally just cut out for me there. You said, I wasn't a lake person before. Your thoughts?
Oh, well, I wasn't a lake person. If I wasn't a lake person before this past week, over beaches, I definitely am.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, I've grown up a beach person, which is weird to say, growing up in the middle of Iowa.
You're talking about like Gray's Lake or something? Like Saylorville?
Don't hate on Saylorville beaches. Come on.
I'm not hating. I had a lot of good times there in high school. It was fun.
Yeah, we didn't really take trips to lakes. We usually, if we took a big trip, it was to beaches. Been to Florida quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be going to Mexico here in a few months. So I'm definitely more of a beach person.
They're so smelly. There's so many people.
You could say the same about lakes.
No, lakes. Like if you go to like my perfect, like what we did is we just went out on the dock and we just floated on floaties. Had a couple adult beverages. Like that's way that you can get in the water and just float.
Yeah, well, I was thinking like get on a boat, do some rafting, get some beers. That's lake life. That's pretty good. But imagine like chilling in the sand. Still have the adult beverages. Beach volleyball.
But you got to drive there most of the time.
That's why you just got to like stay in hotels next to the beach. I don't know.
That's a good point. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
this might be something we differ on.
That we can agree on that. But at least we can agree on tubing, which I got the chance to do last week for the first time in a very long time, and good time.
I've been tubing a couple times. I tend not to try it out. I'm a little bit of a heftier set man, so.
Well, I did mine while I was a wee bit hungover, just a little bit of a headache. I was getting over it, and they're like, "Logan, you got to do it. You got to go on the lake. You got to go tubing." I was like, "Okay, I did it." Headache got worse, but it's okay.
I would assume so.
But I did realize the crazy thing about tubing is like you fall off, like you got to make sure you have that flag, or else I was like, dude, I'm in the Ozarks. Like, there's so many boats here. I could just like, you know.
That's scary to think about.
Exactly. Well, I think as I get older, the worst possibilities come into my head on stuff like that.
I'm like the opposite. As I get older, I'm like, who cares? If it's my time, it's my time.
I don't know about in a lake would be a bad one to go, but okay.
You got to give them stories. That'd be a good story to tell.
Yeah, like, oh, I almost died going tubing.
Mm-hmm. Got hit by 3 boats. Still here.
Dodged them.
Like Brandon Ayuk is dodging these contract negotiations.
Yeah, I mean, it is August 23rd right now. I wish throwback to when I was talking about this in Cedar Rapids covering the state baseball tournament. That seemed like forever ago.
Well, I think we were talking about it on the first week of the season when training came open. I mean, I guess that would make sense. I mean, is this man ever going to figure out where he's going to be?
You know, I was backing him a lot because, in that first episode, we talked a lot about how I think, he could be a wide receiver 1 on some teams. You differed, saying he might not be a wide receiver 3 on some teams, which gave you some flack for that. But
well, actually, now that we're thinking about it, imagine if he went to like the Texans. Where are you going to put him in? He's not a wide receiver 1 or 2.
Okay.
He
Well,
might not even be better than Tank Dell.
hopefully there's no guns around, but yeah, you hope he's better than Tank Dell. He's better than Tank Dell. At this point, he might be better than Stephon Diggs.
I could see the argument over Nico Collins.
Yeah.
Or a seat over Stephon.
Well, I mean, I think if you look at Diggs' games at the end of last year, he fell off tremendously. And that's as a guy that I love watching Stephon Diggs. But
yeah,
I did not dig him the last couple of weeks because he was pretty terrible.
Tough joke.
I know. But no, I mean, at this point, I can't even go up to bat for him anymore. I'm like, dude, I just get traded, sign somewhere. Like, I don't care at this point. Like, a couple weeks ago, I'm checking my phone all the time, seeing what Schefter, Rappaport got cooked up for me. Nothing. No one cares anymore.
Well, now it's like I don't think we even talked about it before, but he rejected the deal with the Browns.
Yeah.
Because he was like, which they were going to send Amari Cooper to the 49ers for him.
Which
that would have been an insane upgrade.
Yeah.
And Ayuk's like, no, I'm better than Amari Cooper. Come on. So, okay, buddy. And then they had a deal set up with the Steelers, and they're like, just sign right here, Ayuk. It's just your name. He's like, nah.
It's the SpongeBob meme. Nah, I don't really feel like it.
And then the 49ers are like, okay, well, maybe we can work out a deal with you to stay on the team. And I think that's where we're at right now is good chance he stays with the 49ers, which is what I predicted when we were first talking about this, what feels like 6 years ago at this point.
This stuff kind of, because like he's going to practice, right? Like he's showing up in street clothes looking like Anthony Davis. But this stuff kind of reminds me of like, I mean, this is something we could probably both relate to because we worked in food service. It's like if I were to show up to my other job that I worked at growing up and when I was in high school, get some food, talk to my friends with there. I'm supposed to work, but I just go home and I don't do anything. That's pretty much what it's like. It's like, see your friends, maybe, throw some balls around, have some fun, but no, I'm not suiting up. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. It's like you're talking to your boss. You're like, well, if you want me to work my shift today, why don't you give me a raise? Like I asked for, 6 months ago. Except
your boss is like, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll do it. Well, maybe not the 49ers, but
he's like, yeah, we'll give you a 50-cent raise. You're like, okay, let's 150. Come on.
Yeah. Except for him, it's like 20 million.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you got Papa John's and Domino's down the street that are like, hey, we'll give you $40 an hour.
Yeah. And he's like, well, I would do that, but I'd have to work with Toothless Jimmy back there who's smells like a dumpster fire.
Yeah. Yeah. What are Russell Wilson and Justin Fields in this scenario? They're like, I don't know.
They're Toothless Jimmy.
Jimmy and Billy.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I don't even know anymore. At this point, I'm getting like fatigue of talking about him, where I'm just like, if you sign anywhere, I don't even care.
Right. I almost like the last couple episodes, I've almost thought about like having ESPN on in the background here to see if anything happens. I'm like, dude, but it's so weird. Like the NFL season is 2 weeks away. Like, what are we doing? 2 weeks away from yesterday, I want to say. Like,
yeah,
we have to. Brandon, you have to play a game in almost 2 weeks. You don't even know what team you're on.
Well, he knows what team he's on currently.
Okay, yeah, true. But the closer it gets, he's going to stay with the Niners. Like, he will not get traded.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of been his plan all along is test the waters, see what he's valued at, and then the 49ers are like, okay, well, we could get like a second rounder or even a first rounder for him,
Mhm.
or we could get an Amari Cooper type player. So maybe we should pay him like
Mhm.
a higher receiver should get paid.
If,
Maybe that was the plan all along.
right. And if anything, like the Niners, it'll suck for them because obviously they lose their wide receiver too. But like if they start the season, like, well, we'll just fine you. Like we'll find someone else to. I mean, it's going to be hard to replace him. But like they drafted that Ricky Pearsall guy. Although I've heard the Niners are going through a lot of injury stuff, like people guys not practicing and whatnot. So you obviously want Brandon Ayuk to be there, but like they'll just fine him. Like he's in the last year of his deal. Like he can still play for them. A contract does not have to get done. You just, if you're from both camps, you would just like for it to get done right now.
Yeah. I mean, it would just save so many headaches because instead of focusing on, putting him into the system, it's like, well, does he even fit in the system if he's not going to be here?
Mm-hmm. But I mean, in more recent news about wide receivers that actually, or a wide receiver that actually got traded, Jahan Dotson in division trade from the Commanders to the Eagles. I think the Eagles gave him. Did you say it was a third round pick or a
It's like
fourth
a
round?
third and something for Dotson and fifth, I think. For
That just
some of those.
it confuses me honestly because you look at his stats and he's been a fine wide receiver too. Got drafted 3 years ago, so an in division trade is always weird for me.
Yeah, you feels like you never really want to trade with somebody in your division, but if you're offering more than he's worth, it's like, how can you say no to it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably where they're coming from, is they're like, okay, well, he hasn't performed like a first rounder. At this rate, maybe they could get like a fifth or a fourth for him.
Mm-hmm.
But if your individual rival's like, okay, I'll give you a third rounder for him, then
Right.
How can you say no?
Yeah. And I mean, now it was almost certain that they already did, but I mean, do the Eagles now have the best wide receiver room in the league? With him, Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, and I know it's 2024, but Julio Jones.
Julio Jones in 2024. Huh?
Who has a better wide receiver room? The Texans, maybe.
The Texans. You could say, gosh, that's a good. I mean, I would still take the Texans receiver room over them.
Yeah.
I would probably take the Dolphins receiver room over them.
Okay.
Just because a combination of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle is
Odell
better
Beckham.
than. Sure, is better than AJ Brown and whoever the number 2 is.
Devonta Smith.
Yeah, well, unless Jahan Dotson works out, and
he is not better than Devonta Smith. Guaranteed.
I do also like the Vikings and the Packers receiving rooms. Obviously, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Madison.
Packers are super, super young, but yeah.
Yeah, young, but they have a lot of potential. So it's like,
I mean, like, who's their guy? They got Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, one of them too, right?
Yeah, Romeo Doubs,
Jaden
Reed.
Yep.
So I think that room is pretty underrated.
Right. I don't really know. I think the Cowboys could have gone from one of the best. I mean, they honestly might have gone to, in this offseason, one of the best to potentially one of the worst now. If they don't have CeeDee Lamb playing week 1 and Michael Gallup retired, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think Gallup retiring is going to be like a big hit. It's not like he was, show-stopping wide receiver 2.
No, but if he was still good there, and they'll have to rely on a lot of their tight ends now. But anyways, that's still making me mad. If you don't have CeeDee Lamb deal done, obviously, I don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah, although I think the closer it gets, the more likely it is he'll just re-sign at something.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was never scared that he was going to be traded somewhere else. My biggest fear was that he's just not going to play at the
Yeah,
start.
he's going to hold out the season.
Yeah, which
I mean, it's been a while since we've seen somebody actually do that, though.
right.
Like a skill position player.
Mhm.
Probably Le'Veon Bell was
Yeah.
the last.
That's always the last one that comes to my mind too. And then he comes back with the Jets, and
He's just not good.
yeah, you look at his first year with the, I mean, random 2020 Le'Veon Bell rant here, but like you look at his first year there, and he was with scrimmage yards, he got over 1,000 yards and probably close to 10 touchdowns there. But then after that, just terrible. Plus, why would you ever choose to go to the Jets?
I'll ask A-Rod that.
It's true.
Yeah, but I mean, you come off. It's actually interesting that Pro Football Reference has his 2018 season missed season contract dispute.
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't think they would list it like that. But I mean, he goes from an all-pro, probably what? Yeah, almost 2,000 yards from scrimmage. 11 total touchdowns. That's kind of a big fall off anyways. So
what was his first year in New York?
1,200 yards from scrimmage, 4 total touchdowns.
Oof, I was lying about being close to 10 touchdowns.
Well, he got 2 his second year as well. But I mean, he was never like a touchdown monster. I mean, the Steelers had Antonio Brown forever, so
Heath
he
Miller.
wasn't really a ground and pound type guy. He was I actually loved watching Le'Veon Bell run. It's like he'll just stand at the line, completely stop, and just look at it, and he'll be like, boom, find a hole.
Well, it's completely different than Najee Harris, who had cement in his shoes.
Which I have heard people talk about Najee Harris. I've been watching a lot of fantasy football information videos. People are like, this is a year for Najee Harris. I'm like, okay.
My draft is today.
Oh, really?
And I have to drive to Ames after work.
Well,
I
don't draft Najee Harris as my
no, but I will be drafting in the cars. So.
That's okay. I think last year I drafted while doing interviews for the soccer team.
That's right. That's right.
I was mid-interview and I was picking. I think I had to auto pick Patrick Mahomes in the first round.
Sorry.
Mike, hold that thought.
Yeah.
Head coach.
Sorry about that.
Looks like Brees Hall's still available. Okay.
I think they won yesterday, the Iowa State soccer team.
Yeah, they're starting pretty early. I guess. I mean, actually, okay, so back to Jahan Dotson. I feel like we just talked about Jahan Dotson and we just went like
Le'Veon Bell.
Way over there. Somehow we're talking about Iowa State soccer now.
That's what you'll get here on Trench Talk. You can still talk about soccer in the trenches. They have trenches in soccer. It's the goalpost. Got to get down in the trenches.
Okay, I guess. I was going to say last year I liked Jahan Dotson.
Mm-hmm.
His rookie season, he looked pretty good. He didn't get a lot of games. I mean, he was averaging 50 yards a game and had 7 touchdowns.
Right.
And then he just kind of did nothing last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't know what to think about him, but
I think he would have been. I mean, it was kind of difficult to see him get any better. I mean, you have definitely a better head coach in Dan Quinn, but he's a defensive head coach, so it's not. And you also have Jaden Daniels, and he adds a threat with his legs more. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if in the Commanders' offense, even now with Jahan Dotson out of the offense, if you just see McLaurin like be the outright number one, like probably has like 1,100 yards, and then the next closest has like 600 because they're going to be running it a lot with Jaden Daniels.
I mean, Jaden Daniels can also throw pretty well too.
For sure.
I mean, I saw his first preseason game and he was airing the ball out.
But now I don't even know who their weapons are anymore. Terry McLaurin, and I mean it's back to literally just Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, which I mean that's just been the Commanders for years. It seems like.
I feel
Luke McCaffrey.
Oh god, yeah, they did draft Luke McCaffrey.
Or Byron Pringle's on the team.
They probably got some random tight end there.
Zach Ertz.
Yeah, he's old. That's right. The Commanders are the retirement home this year because they got Austin Eckler there too.
But actually, okay. I was gonna talk about the preseason standouts. Somehow we're talking about Commanders tight ends. Oh, this kid Ben Sinnott, I think. He's from where's he from? Kansas State.
So we probably watched him.
Yeah, this kid is good. Okay, this kid's going to be great. That's my prediction. I saw one of his runs, like he caught the ball, and then, trucks a dude, and then is running down the field with 3 defenders on his back. He doesn't go down. I was like, I saw like one of those like flashbacks. Where the colors change, and he was in like a Patriots jersey, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is Gronkowski."
Oh, better than the other Patriots tight end.
Oh, we can talk about that on a different pod.
Wow, so he's giving off Gronk stuff, huh? Ben Sinnott.
Yeah. So I mean, rookie out of Kansas State, 2nd round pick.
Ooh. He wore a lower tight end number in college. He wore 34. That's how you know you're a dog.
Yeah. And actually, I wonder if we can. What was it? What was that do? Ben Sinnott college stats.
Oh, I got you right. He was a 2nd round pick. Oh yeah, he's going to be a dog. He was a 2nd round pick.
Yeah. So like he is expected to be good.
He had 600 yards and 600 yards and 6 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
As a tight end.
Yeah, he's a good receiving threat. He obviously has strength and size. So, I mean, I feel like we'll be seeing him on a lot of blocking, especially if Zach Ertz is going to be the number one.
Right.
So he really could just have the skill set that Gronkowski had. He's one of the guys I'm super high on.
Well, they're going to need him if they've got Austin Eckler running back there. I think one of the best memes I saw about him was like Austin Eckler looks like someone who's playing Madden and you're holding down the sprint button, but it's just not working.
That's me. Yeah. But I mean, I do like Brian Robinson though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Expected starter. Eckler just seems a little old, too many injuries. I think he's out of his prime.
Oh, I think for sure. But it's crazy to think that like 2 years ago, he was like probably pick 2 or 3 in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, there was arguments over him being the first overall pick. I mean, it was I got his stats up right now. Yeah, 2 years ago, he had 1,600 yards from scrimmage and 18 total touchdowns. The year before, 20 total touchdowns. He had 100 catches 2 years ago.
Damn. Forgot about that.
Because I think going into last year's fantasy draft, a lot of people were like, is Eckler the number one?
Right. And then, no.
Injuries,
That's the thing with this fantasy draft is like today, I don't even know who I'm going to like. I don't even know who I would draft second. Well, okay, so probably go Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, or you could swap them.
You should swap them.
Okay.
I've heard people, I think CD should be picked over Justin Jefferson too this year.
Okay.
It's might be a toss-up if his contract isn't figured
because,
out.
and I don't know if Trench Talk will turn into this, but I think you can talk about people saying there's way too many podcasts out there. There's way too many fantasy football podcasts out there.
Yeah, and everybody has their own opinions.
Yeah.
Fantasy football. Here's the thing that people need to know about fantasy football. Nobody's right.
No.
They're the guys that'll have like that one hit. They'll be like, "Oh, I told you last year that Puka
Nacua.
Yeah, Puka Nacua is going to be incredible." Okay, yeah, you also said that Antonio Brown was going to make a resurgence and Aaron Rodgers was going to be the MVP. So cool. They usually have like one good take for every like 6 bad takes.
Exactly.
And it's just because you're throwing a dart at a board. I mean, everybody this year's like, well, there's never been a fantasy running back who's over the age of 28 and who has been the number 1 running back last year. Repeat. So, okay. What if Christian McCaffrey repeats?
Right.
Like that could happen. People are like, well, based on trends, okay, well, the trends don't show, injuries. They don't show like all this other random nonsense.
I'll maybe listen to people that talk about like in the mid-season, like waiver wire. I'll listen to that because I'll be like, oh, I didn't even notice that this guy on the Giants or whatever has had like 3 catches for like 50 yards the last couple of games. I'm like, okay, like I'll take that. Good flex spot, whatever.
And the only stat that really matters in fantasy is like target share and pretty much just target share. Because I think there was one year after week 1, I saw that James Robinson had like 80% of the touches in the backfield. He only had like a 10-point game though, so nobody picked him up. I picked him up and he was like averaging 16 a game. I mean, you can't really expect it. Nobody going into the year was like, yeah, this like undrafted or whatever, like super late round guy is just going to break out this year. Like Philip Lindsay, who was undrafted.
Right.
And then one random season, he was like the RB3 in fantasy.
Yeah. What's kind of your mentality for fantasy? We can hit on this last part. Mine, I've always been a draft my wide receivers first, 2 wide receivers.
I was go best available. So if I have a top 5 pick and like CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson is available, but this year if I have a top 5 pick, let's say if I have the 5th pick and Breece Hall is still available, I'm taking him. I think Breece Hall and Bijan are probably the 2 that I'm the highest on. It's like I do want a running back early on because recently the running backs have not been great because teams have realized that you don't need a good running back. I mean, look what the Patriots did for 20 years. You have like 3 random white dudes in the backfield just pounding up for 4 yards to throw off the defense when Tom Brady's not dotting up the field. I mean, that's
true.
That works. I mean, you have like, I feel Kyle Shanahan systems, you could put almost anybody in the running back position and have it work out. So it's like, we're seeing the shift into like the star running backs of like Adrian Peterson, Derrick Henry, Le'Veon Bell. That's not how it is anymore. Which means that for fantasy wise, there's maybe going to be like 10 good running backs.
Right.
So if you don't get one in the first 2 rounds, you're probably going to be screwed.
Yeah. So I'll have to live with that mentality going in. Although I have picked CeeDee Lamb the last couple of years just because he's my guy. So I might have to roll with him depending on where I'm at. But I'm in a 12-man league. So if I'm lower in the first round, I doubt I'll be able to grab him. But we'll see.
Yeah. There's also a lot of receivers that are just good because I don't know. I think there's like 2 RB or wide receiver ones fantasy wise on each team. And then there's usually like half an RB1 on each team.
Right. Like if I end up with like maybe the 10th pick in the first round and I end up getting like Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm like, I'll rock with it.
Yeah.
That's good. I'd be fine with that.
I don't think I'm as high up on Amon-Ra as most people. But
got to watch him on court or on receiver, bro. That show, I was like, yeah, I'm a believer.
They only show the highlights. Come on now.
Yeah, him playing with broken ribs. Yeah, that's who I want on my team.
Yeah, him catching clutch touchdowns in the postseason.
Him putting me on a Biggie song. Going back to Cali.
Oh yeah.
It's actually my boss came up to me the other day at work and asked me, we were going through like concerts, like if you could see anyone, and I was just on the spot. I couldn't think of anyone. And it was like a solo or like a band. I was like, I can't think of anyone. Afterwards, it came to mind like country artists, but I was like, I gave such a basic answer. I was like, I mean, I always thought it'd be cool to see Tupac in concert. I'm like, I don't listen to Tupac.
Oh, jeez.
I thought about saying Michael Jackson, but then I was like,
Prince for me. Prince.
Yeah.
Great to see.
Yeah. That's true.
Especially as I'm going to be a Minnesota guy here soon.
Minnesota gets
Vikings
has not had a good past couple weeks. I remember learning about all this at work, and I was like, wow, that this, and I don't think people are making a big deal out of this as much as they should be.
I feel like Minnesota fans are. So like, yeah, I'm living with a bunch of guys in Minnesota. They grew up in Minnesota. Everybody up there's huge Vikings fans. It's like World War III, you know?
Yeah.
They're like in the bunkers. I've never seen so many depressing chats in my life. I mean, they just can't catch a break. I mean, I don't like Sam Darnold. Okay. Sorry, Sam, if you're watching. I've seen you on the Jets. I've seen you on the Panthers. I've seen you too much.
Yeah.
So I think the Vikings are going to, what their season is going to look like is what happened the last like 5 weeks of last season.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be a dumpster fire. And I think JJ, you can say what you want about him not being maybe NFL ready or not showing a ton of talents, but as a rookie, I think he had the potential to be the guy they can build up and actually lead the team. And
I think really the big thing for me that I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about, and I'm sure you probably did, I wish I was, as much as I love the Ozarks, I wish I was up in Minnesota with you a little bit ago because that sounded fun. But anyways, I'll be up there soon. Regardless, I don't know if anyone was talking about this, but this stunts the growth of JJ McCarthy drastically. Because and there's a couple things I wanted to hit on here with this. So let's say the plan was to really sit him the whole year. I don't think that would happen. I think he would at least get through halfway through the year. Like he would play at some way in the midpoint because I'm not high on Darnold either. And we'll hit on that a little bit too. But at least if you were to get him in midway through the year, let's say he's not great, at least he's playing. He's getting real-time experience. Now you have to go into year 2 of JJ McCarthy. You really don't know what you have. What, are you going to start him week 1 next year? He hasn't played. You don't can you start him week 1 next year?
You'll just have to see what he's like in camp going into next year. Because if he can, there's always going to be a quarterback battle. If he can win that and outright win it and be show that maybe this was a good year to help with his processing,
maybe,
and then, maybe he can still work on his upper body to keep, at least some strength. I mean,
but you personally, would you be confident putting him, just regardless of if he wins out a quarterback battle, would you be confident putting him in week 1 as a starter next year?
I wouldn't be confident, but I would be okay with it. Just depending on what I see from the quarterbacks this year.
That's true. Which, yeah.
But also, I'll bring up like Joe Burrow in his rookie season. I don't think it was that far into it. Had to get like complete knee reconstruction surgery.
Yeah. But
And then came back to have like an MVP season, pretty much.
At least when he got hurt, you kind of knew he was the guy.
Yeah, they kind of knew he was the guy going like before the season even.
They were losing games, but like you knew he was the guy. I remember specifically, you might remember this, that Browns game in Cleveland where he played. I think Joe Burrow passed it almost 60 times, and that was and they got beat badly.
Usually, if you have to throw the ball that much, you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually like the Patrick Mahomes when he's at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Texas Tech versus Oklahoma when he passed for like 700 yards.
Baker passed for like 600 or something crazy.
So Joe Burrow, his rookie year, went 2-7-1, completed 65% of his passes for 2,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, 5 picks. At that point, you know he's the guy.
Oh, and the season he was injured?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was way earlier.
No. Yeah. I know. I thought so too. I thought it was like maybe week 5 or week 6. But so like, yeah, the record isn't great, but like that team was terrible. So there's a reason he got hurt. Which honestly, for him, I remember that injury was bad too. And for him to start week 1 the next year was kind of crazy because that was probably you're in week 11 or week 10, whatever it was. You're in like October, almost November.
Yeah. I'm also thinking like JJ's in like a good spot.
Yeah.
A good spot to be injured for the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel okay, the Minnesota doctors, like they have a good track record of getting players back up on their feet and like so they have a healthy career. I mean, they fixed up Kirk Cousins. I think JJ will be good, like to go. It'll just depend on if he can learn this year.
Right. And you bring up other ones like Justin Jefferson he came back in the middle of he got hurt in the middle of the year and then came back later on.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to stick with the string of maybe just good luck in Minnesota, AP tore his ACL or whatever it was, and then got MVP. So that was a long time ago, though.
Yeah. I remember it like it was yesterday.
But with Sam Darnold, I'm sure you heard a lot of these conversations. It's just like, is this season just a complete dud then? Or like, you obviously see what you have with Sam Darnold, but like, I don't really get why people are so confident with him going in.
Yeah, they shouldn't be. I don't think you can make the playoffs. You obviously can't just like throw games. That's just, you can't do that. So they'll go out and they'll try every single week, but could be a year you see what young players are going to stand out, see if any of the skill positions can make a jump and maybe figure out schemes on defense.
Specifically the running defense. The running back for sure.
Yeah. But if your defense can make a good stand and actually keep you in games, that should be a good sign going forward.
That's actually what I was thinking a little bit, was that you kind of want to see that defense get better because it wasn't terrible last year, but it wasn't necessarily winning them games.
Yeah. It just kind of sucks to waste like some of the
Justin Jefferson,
some of these players, like a year is very valuable. So now Justin Jefferson being on pace to be like one of the best receivers of all time, he's now had 2 years where has nobody throwing to him. Whereas like, you can't say the same about like somebody like Jerry Rice, who's had Joe Montana forever, or even Randy Moss. And then you also have like Aaron Jones, who's I mean, I'll check his age real quick, but I think he's pretty old.
That's right. That's
He's
okay.
29. He's going to turn 30 next season.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's going to turn 30 this season. He'll be turning 31 next season.
Yeah, they need to draft like a good young guy or use Kene Nwangu from Iowa State.
Which they actually used him a good amount in preseason. He looked decent.
He had a good run there.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
97 just for the preseason. Yeah, 90, almost 100 rushing yards in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
8 yards per carry.
You almost want to. I almost always wanted to see what Kene Nwangu would have been at Iowa State because it always just sucked that he was behind Brees Hall.
Mm-hmm.
So.
He's also my age.
Oh, is he really?
Born in 98.
And he's a good kick returner. I remember his rookie year, he had 2 kickoff touchdowns.
Yeah. He's probably one of the better kick returners in the league at this point.
He's and we saw this at Iowa State. He's like shifty and elusive and like open space, but as like a bell cow back, like first, second down, you're not putting Nwangu in there. Sorry, buddy.
Which, speaking of kickoffs, what do you think of the new kickoff rule? Because I have some strong opinions.
I haven't seen really anything that has blown me away. I know, was it the Jags that had the touchdown?
Sure.
One team in the preseason had a touchdown. Other than that, I'm indifferent on it so far. But by all means, share your strong opinions.
Well, I just don't care. All right? That's my opinion. I feel like I watched almost all of the first preseason games for these teams before I realized that, like, bro, once you get to the second half in preseason games, it's like, okay, what am I even watching? Yep. This is just, it seems like everybody wants to go home.
Pretty much.
But it's like these commentators, every single one would be like, oh, hold on. We got a kickoff. Let me see how this goes. And then it's catch it in the 5. They return it up to the 20, 26. Cool. Mm-hmm. Every single time. It's like, or it's in the end zone and it's to the 30. And I think we changed that rule a few years ago where if it's a touchback, it's to the 30 anyways.
Well, can you still do touchbacks with it? I thought you were meant to almost.
If it's in the end zone, okay, it's a touchback.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, I feel like it doesn't really change like almost anything.
Right.
It'll just change when the players are coming at you, which, I mean, sure, they're not going to be hitting like their top speed 15 yards before they get to you, but I mean, they're still going to be playing full speed pretty much.
Right.
So I feel like most of these kickoffs are just ending the same as they would have ended last year before the kickoff rule change. I mean, it almost just seems like nothing's changed, and yet I've watched like 8 different games where the commentators were just going ballistic every time. It was just the craziest thing. They're like, "Oh my gosh, let me see this new rule change."
Yeah,
I mean, something we're going to be watching for weeks to come. And I'm like, I hope we forget about it soon because, I mean, who cares about kickoffs?
I agree. I mean, you just got to think about. I mean, it is different. It's reinventing the game a little bit. They've been kicking off the same way for God knows how long. But the thing is we haven't seen anything different. Like it's boring so far. Like it doesn't. And it's preseason. They're not. Every team's not going to show their hand. Like what if we see the Falcons get crazy and do a double lateral or something? I don't know, but I don't know. It doesn't really seem like either way, even with these new kickoff rules, like it's something that will get exploited. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna drop plays. Like we can get touchdowns with this every time.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's still just a kickoff. And it was probably the most boring part of the game before, and it's probably still going to be the most boring part of the game. Yeah, in my opinion.
The only thing it is for, and I hate to say this because a lot of special teamers on NFL squads that are just trying to make the team.
Yeah.
Really.
And I mean, a lot of them, did that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our own Iowa State guy, Xavier Hutchinson, I think that's the main reason he's still on the Texans is because he proved he was useful in special teams.
Jake Hummel.
Yeah.
He's
Will
still on the
McDonald.
Raiders.
Will McDonald.
He's probably too big for special teams.
I think he took most of the snaps at special teams last year.
Oh, was
At least
he?
for the first half of the season.
How would that even work? Do you think he was do you think he was like a
He's
punt
quick.
return?
He's fast.
Yeah. Do you think he was on probably like punt return defense or something?
Could be. They were punting a lot.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't think
I bet TJ Tampa gets a lot of special teams reps.
Yeah.
He's tall and shit. I could see him doing that. I'm sure you did ever standing next to him. That was always a guy where I was like, it's a tall dude.
I don't think I ever did that. Let me look up his height. Yeah, we're like about the same height.
6. Oh, really?
Yeah, he's labeled as 6'1". I think he's more so like 6'2" in person.
Right.
Because
maybe we should just get all the Iowa State guys in the league playing special teams. Brock Purdy, David Montgomery.
Yeah, Purdy, he could get him punting the ball, maybe. All right.
What else do we got here?
So,
along
with preseason stuff.
Yeah, more preseason.
Yeah. The big news I saw, because we're getting down to like the wire. It's like this last preseason game, I feel like nobody ever like plays. So it's like
it's games where it's like literally people's last shot to make a roster.
Yeah, so it's going to be third stringers versus third stringers, except if you're the Panthers, because it was announced that Bryce Young is going to be taking his first snaps this whole preseason. He's going to be starting against the Bills,
right?
Which could be interesting because I feel like Bryce Young wasn't bad last year. I hope that's not a crazy thing to say. The team was bad. He had like nobody to throw to. He had no run support. The coaching wasn't great at all. And his offensive line was probably bottom 5 in the league. So, but I mean, he showed he has talent. He has potential. I mean, you look at his film on tape. He's making good throws. He's making good decisions. It's just, when you have half a second to throw the ball, it's tough to find somebody that's 30 yards down the field.
Oh, trust me. I was playing college football last night, and it's the same way. And by the way, makes you mad because just a quick college football thing here. If you throw an incompletion, you lose coach's trust. It's like, okay, well, coach, I have a guy that's right in front of me 2 seconds. I have a nose tackle breathing down my neck 1 second after the ball is snapped. How am I supposed to complete that?
Just take a sack.
You still lose coach trust.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, but no, I've heard a lot of that about Bryce Young. That I didn't really believe him coming out of Alabama. Maybe my opinion will change, but I do agree when your top target is 33-year-old Adam Thielen.
Yeah, and your running back is Chuba Hubbard.
Miles Sanders.
Yeah. It was just not great.
No, it wasn't.
But they fixed up their offensive line this year.
They got Xavier Legette.
Yeah, did they get Deontay Johnson this year too?
They also got Deontay Johnson.
So, I mean, he has more weapons. He has a better offensive line. I mean, running back situation is what it is.
Jonathan. They lost Brian Burns, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, Brian Burns doesn't play offense, so.
I'm just talking about the Panthers in general.
They drafted Jonathan Brooks from Texas.
Oh, that's right.
He is expected to miss the first 3 to 4 games, it says. It's because he's coming off that ACL from last year.
That's right. But they're definitely better.
He could be a star if when he's healthy.
I think mainly it's just kind of weird that they chose until the last game to play Bryce Young.
Yeah, could be like a momentum thing of like you get him moving before the season starts, but you don't want to risk him for the whole preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So the last game is a good way for him to probably be playing against some third stringers, get some confidence, get loose, and then when he's getting into week 1, he'll actually be ready to play.
Just go out there, Bryce Young, and don't look like Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Dude, that was bad.
Yeah. We don't want to talk about Daniel Jones.
Interception.
He's not getting enough hate. No.
Interception, 3-and-out, interception. As a Cowboys fan, you love to see it.
Yeah. I made a prediction this year. I saw Daniel Jones grow a beard, and I was like, oof, he's looking like an MVP quarterback. That was a facade. I think he painted on the beard.
Yeah. I would guess that Daniel Jones will lead the league in interceptions. You can clip that.
Interesting.
Especially with Trayvon Diggs back.
Just wait until Deshaun is hurt in week 2, and then Jameis Winston has to play the whole season for the Browns.
I've seen a lot of stuff, like people talk about him, and it makes so much sense. Like, it may not get completed, but Jameis will just throw it deep every time.
I do like him. He's one of my favorite players. Just a personality guy.
Good quotes.
Not on the field.
We can wrap through some more quarterback stuff.
Bo
Nix. Yeah, recently named, which, hey, no one's going to disagree with you on this. He was named the starting quarterback out in Denver. He won it over Trevor Siemian and Zach Wilson. So
Jarrett Stidham.
Sorry. Trevor Siemian and Jarrett Stidham, they're the same person to me. Both and we're on the Broncos at one point, I want to say. And Zach Wilson, which if Zach Wilson is third string on the Broncos,
it might be time for me to jump off the ship.
It's been time.
I had faith in Zach Wilson. He got drafted to a terrible situation in New York. Sorry, I was brain fart there. But yeah, he just hasn't done anything since.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I thought that, okay, you get him off of that. The city hated him. The team hated him. You can't thrive in those conditions. It was like they were rooting for his downfall. He'd throw like 3 good passes. They'd look the other way. He'd throw 1 bad pass. It'd be just plastered all over everywhere. He gets to Denver, and I was like, cool. He can definitely compete against Jarrett Stidham.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that wasn't the case.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to do that when especially you have Bo Nix come in, who has, even just as a prospect, significantly better than Zach Wilson, more reps in college, in the preseason. When Zach Wilson played in the preseason, you didn't believe in him.
He honestly wasn't bad. I got his stats pulled up here. I don't know if he even threw a pick in the preseason. Jarrett Stidham definitely did.
I don't think it's – well, no, I meant preseason for Zach Wilson rookie year.
Oh, yeah.
Bo Nix, I think, has led a scoring drive on almost every one of his drives in the preseason, which, again, it's preseason. Great. You don't want to overreact, but, I think it's the right choice, personally.
Yeah, it was like going into the year, they had their first roster look, and I can see where they're coming from. They have Jarrett Stidham as the starting guy.
Mm-hmm.
before they knew what Bo Nix was.
Mhm.
But I don't think that was correct at all. I think Bo Nix, the potential, the idea of Bo Nix was better than Jarrett Stidham ever showed. I mean, Stidham up to that point was like a manageable quarterback 3 for the Patriots, behind like Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones. So I don't think that was going to be their guy. And then Zach Wilson, sure, he has played NFL reps as a starter, but again, I don't think that was enough to put him over Bo Nix either. I think they should have expected Nix to be the starter. He would have proved that he is the starter instead of this like quarterback battle, which seems to be like the other two quarterbacks fighting against a wall, and Bo Nix just being like, okay, yeah, you guys can battle for number 2.
Yeah, I mean, he's been completing a ton of his passes, making plays for sure. I mean, you look at that his second half against the Colts, I want to say, and he was, I mean, just really good. I mean, I think a lot of people are honestly underrating kind of what he's been able to do. You know, obviously a lot of people are looking at Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams, his numbers don't shine. It's just what he's been doing. I think Bo Nix is the perfect combination in the preseason of, you know, his numbers being really good, and he's just, you know, going through his progressions really well, making plays and whatnot. And I think that's really, if you have Sean Payton as your head coach, you just, I mean, I think he's just so happy that Russell Wilson's gone, and that now he finally has a quarterback that will do what he wants to do.
Although I don't know what's going to happen to Russ, but I mean, I like that they bring up Caleb Williams because his stats don't show it. But I mean, you look at some of the throws he's making, the plays he's making. He honestly is doing stuff that only like Patrick Mahomes can do.
Right, which is a lot.
Preseason,
yeah,
but could be scary.
That's true.
Bears dynasty incoming?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Give him a year.
That's what Mahomes needed.
That's true. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I think over in Pittsburgh, it's going to be a Russell Wilson job for sure, and then Justin Fields will come in if Russ sucks. So, which don't be surprised if he does.
Which is almost inevitable.
Yeah, the fall off from Russell Wilson is interesting. You know, he had a good year last year, but I don't really know if he's going to be able to thrive with Pittsburgh.
No, I remember probably like 5 or 6 years ago when he was on the Seahawks, I was over here trying to make a case for him to be the MVP. And now we're like, is he going to lose his job to Justin Fields?
Yeah.
It wasn't good enough for the Bears.
Right. Who's returning punts in Madden? I'm just kidding. I mean, we've mentioned pretty much every rookie quarterback besides the clear-cut best out of the group. Drake May.
So far. Drake May has actually looked pretty good.
He's looked all right. He won't start, but he's looked all right.
Yeah, he might.
No,
I guess we'll see.
Jacoby Brissett will start, or Joe Milton.
Joe Milton is really. I like Joe Milton. If you need a guy, have I said this before? I feel like I've said this like 100 times. If you need a guy to throw 70 yards, and only 70 yards, it's going to be Joe Milton.
And then do a backflip.
Yeah. So quick screen pass. Yeah, he'll hurl that ball 70 yards. Slants. Yeah, that's in the end zone. Kid's got an arm.
He does.
But Jaden Daniels has legs, and I think that's what makes Jaden Daniels so good.
Yeah. You know, Joe Milton's just walking out there with no legs, so that kind of has hurt his game. But Jaden Daniels, the rare quarterback that is there with legs.
The first legless quarterback, Joe Milton.
No, you put on the docket that Jaden Daniels getting offensive rookie of the year talks. I could see it very much. I think this year it's probably going to be a quarterback unless one of those wide receivers balls out. But do you think about the wide receivers that were drafted the
Marvin
first round picks,
Harrison.
huh?
Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison, maybe. I think he's going to have to kind of blow you away with that, especially with how many opportunities there are for a rookie quarterback to shine. But Malik Neighbors, no. Who else was there? Gosh, there's other first rounders. Oh, Roma Dunze, probably not. So I'm blanking on the draft here.
Yeah, well, if you want to talk about Jaden Daniels, let me pull up the draft real quick.
He's looked really solid in his preseason. Definitely made me kind of nervous that maybe the Commanders are actually going to be good for the first time in a very, very long time and going to compete against my Cowboys. But he will. I thought for a little bit maybe he might be benched behind Marcus Mariota, which for me to even think that now is kind of crazy. But I think you just got to start him. I mean, the athleticism's there, and he's proved that he can, be the guy in preseason, just like Bo Nix has and Caleb Williams.
And you're thinking of Xavier Worthy is another one of those wide receivers.
Adonai Mitchell too, or was he second round?
He's not in the first. You mentioned Xavier Legette.
Yeah, Xavier Legette.
Okay. Ricky Purcell.
That's the guy with Ricky Purcell. Xavier Legette is the guy with the really southern accent. Went to South Carolina.
Yeah, that's right. That dude's funny.
I would love to be in the North Carolina media group. Just, huh?
Yeah, well, he staying in Carolina, although
different one.
Is it?
He went to South Carolina, yeah.
Yeah, but same difference. Well, speaking of Jaden Daniels, I feel like he's shown enough to be considered as like the top rookie quarterback coming out of this year, maybe even better than Caleb Williams.
It's up for debate.
He's going to be the reason that the Commanders win games.
Mm-hmm.
He's really the only quarterback there.
You honestly feel like an RG3 kind of sense there.
Yes, unfortunately, but
where he is going to be, like you said, he's going to be the one that wins them games. Like their offense isn't. We went over their offense; it's not terrible, but it needs to be elevated for sure.
Yeah, and I think he has the potential. I mean, he has great legs. He can throw the ball very accurately. I mean, I feel like he's just done everything right, and it's almost time to just kind of see what he can do when the season actually comes.
When that season comes, will be in a week from our next episode, which I think we'll have a lot of good stuff there. We could talk about potential matchups and everything. Because honestly, I haven't looked at the week one schedule in a while. I know that, we start off with Chiefs Ravens on that Thursday night, but other than that, we'll have to see.
Yeah, we might have to. We'll save that for next week so that we don't spoil our picks. But are you good with preseason talk? I think I'm preseasoned out at this point.
Oh, I'm done. That's why next week we can maybe talk about the preseason, these last couple of games, but I would like to preview the season next year or next week.
Well, I think one thing I really wanted to discuss, because I've been seeing a lot of it, is Colin Cowherd's.
Yes, that's right. We can hit on that.
His season predictions.
Right.
I wonder if I can pull something up here. I mean, there was a lot of interesting ones on there just because, obviously he's not as high up on some teams and he's low on some teams. It's all over the place.
Let's the first thing I wanted to hit on, I'm kind of looking at these. Well, okay, the big one that hits me is the the NFC East one. And he has the Commanders at 2 over the Cowboys. I think really that is, and I was talking about this with my boss the other day, the epitome of everyone in the media just wanting the hot take. I don't truly believe that Colin Cowherd believes that the Commanders are the second best team in the NFC East and are going to be. I think he just wants to have a correct hot take. If he is, I bet you in 6 months he's going to look back at that and he's like, oh, well, I just thought maybe, they had the better team and whatnot. And it's like, oh, no, well, the Cowboys went 18-0, buddy, or 17-0. So
I want an extra game. Well, he also said he thinks the Cowboys are going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. And for lack of better words, they're just stupid.
Well, I think one thing that a lot of people aren't taking into consideration when they're looking at this is everybody's like, obviously this division is a tough example just because the Commanders are rarely good.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody's like living in the past and they're looking at last year's rankings and they're like, well, that team wasn't good last year, so they can't be good this year. Or that team was amazing last year, so why would they fall to 2 or something? It's like,
right.
Because the rankings are never the same as they were the last year. Never.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just not going to happen. So if you like, let's say sticking on the NFC South, he had the Panthers above the Saints. People are like, the Panthers were the worst team in the league last year.
Right.
There's been a whole offseason to change it. They got a new everything. The Saints haven't done anything to improve. Why wouldn't the Saints be last in that division?
Right.
They were fighting for last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like you got to expect that stuff's going to shift. And I mean, that's kind of true with the NFC East because I'm honestly not as high up on the Eagles as everybody else.
Right. People just think, oh, well, last year was an outlier. Like they had a bad year, but they went to Super Bowl 2 years ago. It's like, I don't think people understand the disconnect between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and like how toxic that seems like it might be.
Yeah. And they on paper have a great team, great roster, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to find as much success as they have. I mean, like you look at the Browns a few years ago with Baker. I mean, they on paper had like a top 5 team and they were missing the playoffs.
Do people just forget that? Like, and I know it's like people might just think like just a center, but like the Eagles lost Jason Kelce, like one of the best probably one of the best centers in the last 10 years.
Well, they're going to have to change up their whole game plan because the tush push was centered around Jason Kelce.
For lack of
Jalen Hurts
centered.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts, his whole stance, he would get low because of how Kelce snapped the ball. He'd whip that thing to him. But now he has to have a different stance. He's all up here. I mean, is that going to throw off his game? Who knows? Is his drop back going to be different? I mean,
are the Giants going to be good?
No. Oh boy, I can't wait for the Giants to win the league this year. That'd be so hilarious. But yeah, I don't think the Cowboys will take that big of a step back. I think the Commanders maybe next year could be one of the top teams in the NFC East, but we just have to see how they do this year. I am not ready to, because they'll have to make a huge jump. And I think they could jump to 3rd in the division. I just don't think they can knock the Cowboys out of playoff contention.
I think they can jump to 3rd and maybe they end the year 7-9. That's a good year.
Yeah, I could see that.
If Jaden Daniels wins Offensive Rookie of the Year, that's a good year. That's promising.
Yeah, and then
they look at when Justin Herbert won Rookie of the Year. It's like Justin Herbert, good. Chargers, okay.
Chargers bad.
Something like that.
There were some other interesting ones. The NFC North, He had the Packers winning the division again.
I mean, I could see it.
Yeah, and I think everybody's going to freak out because the Lions are so good.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to realize that the Packers have dominated that division forever.
Mm-hmm.
Matt LaFleur knows how to get to the top.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference between last year, or I guess the last time they were at the top, and going into this year is their whole quarterback situation.
Yeah. And you just hope that the Green Bay defense is better than it was last year. I think that's the big thing for them, because there was times last year where okay, I'm just going to be real with you. I love Baker, but you're letting up a perfect passer rating game from Baker Mayfield at home. Come on now.
Yeah. But I think Jordan Love will take another step forward. I think should be in the MVP talks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has the potential. What we saw, how he improved over the last 10 games,
mm-hmm.
I mean, is insane. And I mean, that might be enough to win the Packers the division.
Mm-hmm. Could be. Could very well be. I think that's a toss-up between them and the Lions, but I could definitely see it.
Yeah. I think the Lions will still be good. They'll make the playoffs, but the Packers have the potential to win 13 games
mm-hmm.
or 11 games. I think the Lions are probably winning 10.
10 to 12, yes. Probably in that same range.
NFC South, Falcons at the top. I'm super high up in the Falcons. Coward said he sees them potentially 12 to 13 wins this year.
Could this be the Jets of last year? Very well could be.
Oh, hopefully not. I mean,
no. I want to see Kirk Cousins play well, but I'm just saying, could. People were really high on the Jets going into last year and then come out.
Yeah, it is. It does their whole team kind of bases around their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So if Kirk doesn't come out and perform, then they aren't going to be scrambling to figure out who will. The Jets just didn't have anybody besides Rodgers, which is true. I mean, if your quarterback goes down, you're most likely not going to have a good year unless you're the Browns.
It's true. Just luck out with your defense, I suppose.
Not the Browns. We had a MVP quarterback as our third string.
And a defense player of the year.
Yeah, well. Who was the reason he was on the field so much?
Huh? Sean Watson.
Yeah. Then the NFC West. This one's kind of, I don't really like it. He has the Rams or the 49ers.
Right.
I mean, 49ers right now, I don't think they'll be as good as last year.
But they'll still win the division.
Yeah, because the division is not that good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't see the Seahawks being over the Cardinals.
No, I think the Cardinals are better than last year, better than the Seahawks this year then.
Yeah.
And the Rams, it is going to be big to replace Aaron Donald, though.
Yeah, plus, I mean, Stafford has to play a whole season. Ooh, fly right in my face. Stafford has to play a full season, which is a big ask.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, the Rams feel way more improving than the 49ers, and just because there's contract negotiations going on doesn't really mean that the 49ers are going to be bad.
Right.
They still have we're not putting enough respect on Brock Purdy's name. They still have Purdy. Christian McCaffrey's healthy, which everybody's like, well, he's injury prone. Well, he hasn't been injured in 2 years, so
that claim is
he has a calf strain right now. Okay, the old massage his leg. He's ready to go by week 1. Come on.
Yeah. George Kittle, Trent Williams. I mean, we can go on and on with the list of names there. They're still a good team. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be a hard division to win.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see them losing that.
No.
And then AFC, the AFC East, guess, do you have any thoughts about Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots?
You could probably flip-flop. Well, I don't know if the Bills will win the division, actually. They've lost some pieces on defense. Diggs isn't there anymore. Gabe Davis isn't there anymore. I could honestly see the Dolphins winning the division, and then you could flip-flop the Bills and the Jets for 2 and 3.
Yeah, I think the Jets, if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, which I feel like there's no reason to expect him not to, I guess. I think he'll be fine. It's more so he pointed out the defense, which people are like, oh, well, the defense is the reason they win games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the defense has so many question marks this year. It's like we've got Hassan Reddick holding out. Injuries have hit that defense before. It's like if they're fully healthy and everybody's playing at their best, sure, it's a top 5 defense, but that's a big if.
Right. And plus, like, you got in that division, they're going to have to go up against Josh Allen, Tua, Tyreek, Drake.
Yeah, Patriots are even good this year.
They'll still be bottom of the division, but they'll improve from last year for sure. A more optimistic look.
Yeah. Plus, I do agree with the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins could win the division this year. Bills might take a step back just because they don't have as many offensive weapons either. But the Dolphins seem to only be getting better. I mean, there's this kid, Jalen Wright, out of Tennessee, running back. If they have like a 3-headed monster at running back, Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, and then if Jalen Wright plays and is healthy, he could actually be good. Like, don't draft any of these guys for fantasy because there's so many reps to be given up. But
right,
I mean, we could see their offense was insane last year. It was like on pace with the greatest show on turf. I think they could match that pace this year.
For sure. When you have those 2 weapons out there, I mean, and also running backs galore, so they'll be good. I think they have a really high potential to win that division this year. How they perform in the playoffs, I don't know about that, but division winners, I would bet on that.
Yeah. And then the AFC North, which is my division.
It's tricky because, I think it's going to be a competitive AFC with how competitive the AFC East is going to be, where you could potentially maybe see 3 teams from there, but very easily you could also see 3 teams from the AFC North.
Yeah.
Which obviously can't happen.
Yeah. I think if Joe Burrow's healthy this year, I think the Bengals will win the division. I think the Ravens, they have those breakout years from Lamar. It seems like once every 5 years. So I think
and they might just be getting overhyped a tad bit with the Derrick Henry signing. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but
yeah, I think Derrick Henry's almost out of his prime at this point.
Yeah, I'd agree.
He's dealt with some injuries too. I don't think he'll be taking as big of a role on the team as he had in Tennessee. So it's I don't think he'll be he won't be leading the league in rushing stats.
No. It'll be different. Well, yeah, because now he's paired with Lamar, so it'll be different.
They have the Steelers over the Browns at the bottom.
I don't agree with that personally, but
I could see that. I think Colin Cowherd has this man boner for Russell Wilson in a sense.
That's true. Yeah,
he was super high up on the Broncos when Russ went there, and now he's super high up on the Steelers. I think if the Browns could very easily be the bottom in this division. I think the last place team in this division is still winning 9 games. It'll really depend on if Deshaun Watson starts. If he does, they probably won't be great on offense. If he doesn't, they probably won't be great on offense.
That's actually how it was last year. The last team in the
Mhm.
division was the Bengals, who won 9 games.
Oh, there we go.
I think it was one of the or not one of the first times, but it was one of the rare cases where everyone in the division finished with a above 500 record.
Yeah, and I mean there's very easily this could be the same. I don't think the Steelers just are going to be 500 or better. Like that's just what they are. I think when people are like expecting them to win 4 games, it's like, have you just not watched football over the last 20 years? That's not the Steelers MO.
Nope. Mike Tomlin's gonna at least stay competitive. They might not be a great team, and people forget that defense is amazing. You just gotta hope that the offense takes a step with two new quarterbacks, really.
Yeah.
Who are both better. Well, I don't know. Maybe Justin Fields is better than Kenny Pickett. He is. He is
By a lot. By an unbelievable margin.
more versatile. Okay, that I shouldn't have thought about that.
Better quarterback. Kenny Pickett's terrible. And the Browns, they usually have they have a good season once every. It's like the Lamar Jackson loop. When Lamar Jackson has a great season, the Browns make the playoffs, and then the Browns go downhill into a random resurgence. So
the Browns beat the Ravens both times last year.
Well, we just owned them.
So. And Nick Chubb's going to be back, which you hope he's just
maybe
not a shell of himself. Well, that's true. But anyway, moving on. AFC South.
AFC South, Texans should be first there. Jags over Colts. Yeah, I see that. I mean, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
I feel like, are we forgetting Trevor Lawrence as a person? I mean, the Jags could very easily be top in the division.
And it's just hard to predict what Anthony Richardson's going to be.
Yeah, I like him. I'm high up on him. The Colts as a team, I'm also not that high on Jonathan Taylor just because he's a few years removed now from his insanely good season. He's dealt with an injury. Sure, he was trending in a good direction at the end of last year, but if Anthony Richardson is healthy, he's going to be taking some ground reps. I mean,
when running backs tend to trend down like this, you don't really see a resurgence. It's usually like, oh, really good year, and then as they go down, it's not like they're going to go right back. Especially in this year, where like we were talking about, it's like, okay, well, we can just replace you. Like they haven't paid Jonathan Taylor. There's no reason to. I don't think they paid him. There's no reason to keep him around if it's like, all right, well, you're starting to trend down for us. We're not going to keep you around anymore.
Yeah. It was 2021 when he had his breakout season.
With Carson Wentz.
3 years ago. So now that they have an actual quarterback at quarterback, and also, okay, no hate on Carson Wentz. So much nostalgia for that guy. I feel like he was meant to be great. If he didn't get that hit in the end zone, if he didn't get injured his MVP season, he's going to be a top 5 quarterback. We're going to still be talking about him as a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is confidence for sure.
Could be Derek. He's the Derrick Rose of the NFL.
Except he actually won a championship. Still.
Oh, Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
On the bench.
Still, it's still a ring. Actually, there's a clip of him like congratulating Nick Foles afterwards, and it's like, it is kind of sad because you're like, I think Nick Foles is like, no, like hold the trophy, and Wentz is like,
he's like, I got us here, I got us in the playoffs, but you won us.
I think he was like 6-2 or 7-2.
Wentz is about to get his 2nd Super Bowl
with the Chiefs, yeah.
Funny.
And then Titans last, which
yeah.
I think they're going to be better than what people are saying. That was one of the first things we ever talked about on this podcast was the Titans, from my point of view, because I didn't know what to talk about on our first episode. But I think they're still going to be better than people will give them credit for.
Yeah. I don't.
Don't believe in Mayo Man?
No. The quick quick release Levis. And then AFC West, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. I mean,
yeah. You. Mm,
I almost like the Broncos over the Chargers. I think this is perfect, though. I don't really see.
yeah, I think you forget about Harbaugh being there at the Chargers now. Hopefully, I mean, the Chargers are cursed, so maybe Harbaugh being there doesn't really change anything. People still aren't giving enough credit to Justin Herbert. Yeah,
Cool.
they lose their top. Well, they lost Keenan Allen, so that doesn't help. But
yeah, but was also
you need Quentin Johnston to take that next step. You need him, or at least just catch.
He did have a good catch, I think, in practice the other day. Well, I saw a clip of him.
I thought you were going to say preseason, and I'm like, okay, I'll give him some credit. Practice?
Well, they posted a clip. They're like, look at this catch by Quentin Johnston. Oh,
bro, he could catch something off the jug machine, and they'd be like, look at this catch.
Me catching a water bottle on the sideline. He has hands. Sorry, Quentin, buddy, but we have a highlight reel of all your drops, and it's over 2 minutes long.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, but I think the Chiefs, obviously, there's something weird has to happen for the Chiefs not to win that division
for like the umpth time in a row.
Yeah, it's just
I don't. Can you imagine if Bo Nix just comes out and
I could see that
own it? Or if I think we're not really talking about the Raiders because it doesn't really matter. They're kind of in a limbo right now where they can't really do anything with their quarterback situation. They lost Josh Jacobs, so people forget about that. That doesn't really help. You just honestly got to. I feel bad for guys like Max Crosby and Devontae Adams, who are both still. I mean, Max Crosby probably top 3, top 5 in his position group. Devontae Adams, in my opinion, still top 10. You got to feel bad.
Still top 5.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say top 5, but I didn't want to. Anyway, but they're just kind of wasting away some of their really good years.
Yeah, but they did pick up Brock Bowers, the Georgia, who was probably, I'd say he's like the best player, probably second best player in last year's draft.
Yeah, but
it's just a weird position group.
Do you believe in Gardner Minshew leading the charge?
I think Gardner Minshew is going to look at Brock Bowers a lot, considering he doesn't have a consistent, deep ball. Might as well check down to your tight end.
Yeah, true. I thought you were saying he doesn't have a consistent deep ball threat, and I was like, are we just forgetting Devontae Adams? Or
yeah. Zamir White is one of my fantasy sleepers this year. I want to leave every draft with Zamir White. I think he'll be good.
I think Chargers could maybe, take that next step and solidify themselves at 2, but
and they picked the best player in last year's draft.
This year, you mean? Or what?
Yeah, this last draft. Yeah,
Joe Alt.
Mm-hmm. And then they swapped out an aging Austin Eckler for the Ravens running backs.
Gus Edwards, right?
And J.K. Dobbins.
Hopefully they can stay healthy.
Yeah, if they're healthy, they're honestly a pretty good 1-2 punch.
And let's see here. Who are their other weapons there? Is it Palmer?
Yeah.
We're still there? Yeah. He's decent,
They have a Lad McConkey.
Quentin Johnston, you really need to take that next step, buddy.
He's not even there. He's not a top 3 on their depth chart.
Who is it?
Chargers. Let me pull it up. Joshua Palmer, Lad McConkey, DJ Chark.
Wow.
They also have Brendan Rice.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Top receiver from USC last year.
Yeah, he could be pretty good.
Yeah. So, there's potential there with the Chargers offense, but maybe Harbaugh will give them the next step. But Raiders for sure 4. Broncos could surprise me and get to 2, but Chiefs at 1 for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that division is just the Chiefs. Everybody's fighting for second. And, I mean, the Raiders had, like, some of the worst games ever last year and also some of the best games ever.
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows? I like their head coach now.
Yeah. I think
they looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But they just don't have a consistent quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Gardner Minshew hasn't been great since he was on the Jags, right?
He had one good start with the Eagles, but yeah, that too.
One good start.
He almost took wait. He almost took the Colts to the playoffs last year. He was a Pro Bowler. He was a Pro Bowler last year.
Pro Bowler reserve, we'll say. Yeah, since his rookie season. 21 touchdowns, 6 picks.
His rookie year?
Mm-hmm.
He was a lot better than people want to give him credit for that year.
Him on the Jaguars was pretty good both years. It's just he was injured his second year.
And then they drafted.
And they went 1-7 when he started.
Yeah.
But the Jags were also terrible. People forget that.
Yep. That's why they drafted Trevor Lawrence. And then they shipped him off to Philadelphia that year.
Mm-hmm.
Geez, I think we've cycled through everything we can talk about.
I think that was all I cared about for Colin Cowherd. I mean, I saw a TikTok video of a guy who was ranting about it and clearly didn't know ball. Way overreacting to everything. So I was like, I gotta get Logan's thoughts.
You look at us, we're just like, yeah, I'd maybe switch 1 or 2, but whatever.
Yeah,
this
it's
guy
honestly not a bad list.
Yeah, I think really the big one for me is the Commanders, which that's just Colin Cowherd wanting to give a hot take, which is fine.
But I think there tends to be 1 or 2 bad teams from a year before that will make the jump the next year, and I think the Falcons are one of them. I think they're almost a given.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a team, if it's not the Commanders that's going to knock off a top team, it's probably going to be like the Patriots. Somebody with a rookie quarterback who looks decent, or maybe the Broncos, I guess. Somebody with a rookie quarterback who's decent, who kind of like surprises people.
Yeah, someone kind of like what we were talking about with the Broncos, where they could be third in their division, or if the quarterback really is just that good, could jump them to 2 and maybe get a playoff spot.
Yeah,
like the Texans came out of nowhere with CJ Stroud. We thought they were just going to be okay. Maybe Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels could be that next step for them.
Yeah, and I think that's what people. That happens every year. The Texans were terrible. They get a rookie quarterback. They're great.
Mm-hmm.
Bengals are terrible. They get a rookie quarterback. They're great. I mean, it happens. It's just who is that next elite quarterback? And I think right now it's looking like it's – I mean, I guess the Bears. But, I mean, it could very easily be Jaden Daniels or Drake May.
Only time will tell.
That's true.
But I think that's going to do us here on our extended episode of Trench Talk this week. We'll be back next week. We will preview the NFL season, which will be just a week away when we record. So thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.